This is Bryan, your friendly neighborhood reviewer, and I'm here today to discuss Paul McCartney and Wings' 1976 really big album, Wings at the Speed of Sound. We've got a cool copy here. Really, really easy because it was a huge bestseller back then. Really cool. I like the front. I love the back cover too. This is kind of neat. How they kind of like almost reminds me a little bit of Hard Day's Night when they did those little photo things of the Beatles. It's kind of neat. But this is really cool. This is cool. And I'll show the inside, and we'll talk about this a little bit. But it's kind of neat. It's kind of like a marquee, like, Wings, like they're actually at a club, the Speed of Sound. But this is really cool. I like the drawing illustration. It's really nice. And then really cool photos of the band at the time. Paul and Linda and Denny Lane. And then they picked up two other people. At the time, Band in the Run, it was just Paul, Linda, and Denny Lane. So after they left, Denny Sywell and Henry McCullough and all that, they went and did Band on the Run in Nigeria, whatever. It was a big hit, etc., etc. So they went to New Orleans and recorded, and were going to record Venus and Mars. They were looking around to record. They found Joe English, here, that cool guy. Found him, and then enlisted him in Wings. Yeah, Joe English is actually a really good vocalist, and he actually, after he kind of had a kind of change of heart, look conversion, and after Wings, he actually went into like a contemporary Christian field, and I think he released some albums on Myrrh and some of those albums, which are actually really good. So they got Joe English, who's an incredible drummer, really good drummer, really enthusiastic drummer, really cool. And then Jimmy McCullough was from Stone the Crows, and most specifically from Thunderclap Newman. The song Something in the Air, if you've ever heard that. So Paul McCartney kind of snagged him from Thunderclap Newman when they fell apart, enlisted him. Junior's Farm was his first recorded single with him. And then Joe English and him recorded on Venus and Mars with Paul, Linda, and Denny. Heck of a big album for them, really big. And then they went on a worldwide tour, okay? So in 1975, they went on a tour starting, I think, in Europe and in Australia. Took a couple weeks break for holidays, and then recorded this album in January, had it finished and done by February, and it was released in March. It was a really rush-released album, and then went on the American tour. But they had been so disciplined. Remember, Paul McCartney had disciplined Linda and Denny specifically by going through the countryside, just showing up unannounced at college places and venues and just playing unannounced and whatever. So it toughened up the band. Well, when doing these tours, they got tougher and tougher and better and better. And by the time we got Wings of America, they were ready to record. They recorded a lot of the concerts in Wings of America and released it on a triple disc set after Wings at the Speed of Sound later on in the year. So this album was rush recorded very quickly. It is a more democratic album. But Paul McCartney, unlike say someone like John Fogerty, who was being very dictatorial at the time, he encouraged the others, write your own songs, either write your song or sing on it, And this album is very interesting. It's a very interesting album for me. It's not perfect. I do recommend it though. I'd give it about a 4 out of 5. So it's a very recommendable album. There's a song written by Denny Lane and Jimmy McCullough, I think, writes one. So, we'll take the tracks right off the bat. Of course, the very first song, Let 'Em In, classic McCartney, chugging, slow little rocker, classic single. One of those songs that doesn't seem impressive until you hear it a few times, and then you realize, wow, that's a killer tune. It was a big hit, number one hit here. And then you've got The Note You Never Wrote, which Denny Lane sings that, which is a really beautiful ballad. A lot of this album I remember been playing on the radio at the time. I was very young, but a lot of these songs seems like I've heard a lot of these. That was one that I kind of heard on the radio. Then She's My Baby, which, again, some critics have said that would have been perfect on the White Album. And I can see why. I can definitely see why. It's just one of those perfect album tracks. And then that sets the stage for Beware My Love, which is an epic McCartney rocker. The closest a rocker on this album. This album is more a melodic album than a rocking album. I think Roy Carr and their Illustrated History of the Beatles declared it's more like a morning album. That's true. I agree with that, definitely. It definitely has that kind of feel to it. But Beware My Love is an extraordinary piece. Wow, that is one of the best ones he's ever written. Classic McCartney. And then it ends with Why No Junko with Jimmy McCulloch. One of his like little, unfortunately for him, he died of an overdose, but he was always detailing like Medicine Jar on Venus and Mars, kind of like the underside of things. But Why No Junko is a very good song from him, and God bless him. But then second side begins Silly Love Songs, McCartney's signature tune. I mean, come on. That's his signature tune, absolutely. I mean, what can you say about it? I mean, the bass is killer. The different vocals on it is killer. It's disco without being too disco-y, You can see why it's a big ass hit. And then it kind of goes a little soft because Linda comes on, the Cook of the House, which is not one of her best songs. It's an okay bop song, from like 30s jazzy kind of bop. But it's okay. And then Time to Hide. Wow, Denny Lane kicking ass on that song, man. That's a killer song. That's probably his best song from Wings. Time to Hide. A hell of a song. Kudos to him for that, man. Killer rocker. And then it goes to Must Do Something About It, the Joe English showcase, which I thought he sounded fantastic on that song. That's a really cool. I love that little ending. McCartney always throws a little coda in there somewhere, kind of like on Rock Show. He does that little piano coda. Well, this one he does a little guitar, little coda. It's really neat. I love that. And then San Fairy Young, which is really probably gets lost in the album a little bit. It's a good quiet number. It's one of those songs that kind of like let them in, that grow on you after a while. And then Warm and Beautiful. It's a sweet little ballad, almost like a movie kind of theme, kind of soundtrack kind of ballad. But it works pretty good in this context. Again, it's not a perfect album, but for them to make this kind of album, a democratic album where they all sing leads on things, and then to do this in between the tour, is kudos to them. And this is a 4-star album. That shows you how good this group was, that they could make an album like this and make it successful. And it's a great album. It's turned out to be one of Paul McCartney's best albums, really. When they did the Wings of America tour, a lot of this stuff was included on the tour, because once they got through recording this and it was released in March and it became a huge hit, they started incorporating tracks on this. So a lot of this album is included on Wings of America. Certainly almost everything on Venus and Mars is. But a really good album, cool album to have. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate the likes, comments, and all that. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about Wings at the Speed of Sound. I think it's an absolutely excellent album. Paul McCartney doing what he does, and doing it with everybody else, so it's awesome, But let me know what you think about this, and appreciate everything. Take care of yourself. Love each other. God bless. See you around, guys. Thanks.